made the chassis.
He definitely made one.
We're back on track now. We're talking about Harold Taylor.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to make the Taylor Special? Whose idea was it? Who was it for?
It was a brainchild of Oxenden. Oxenden died, and Harold had the plans, and I used to go out there, delivered there.
Oxenden died in 1952.
There was Raunsley Gerd as well. Do you remember Raunsley Gerd?
Oxenden, I don't know what happened. I'm sure
Because the engine was out of Oxenden's motorbike originally.
In 40.
not with the Taylor Special. I built the Taylor Special.
Yeah.
Because Harold Taylor said, I've got the plans for this, what do you think of it? So I had a look at it and I said, well, it looks good. I said, okay, build it.
Because there was another Taylor Special, wasn't it, which was actually a Morgan three-wheeler, which he put a fourth wheel on. That was another Taylor Special. That was called the Taylor Special.
It wasn't.
No, it was this one.
No, Mossel LeBrun bought that. That was a three-wheeler. He Frank LeBrun. He converted the three-wheeler.
But Taylor put the wheel on.
He put
The extra wheel.
Back.
That's right. But they called that. What did they call that
They
one?
didn't call it the Taylor Special. I can't remember what
They didn't call it anything.
Well, Franklin Brun used to live at Bagatelle Farm.
That's right. Yeah, back around the corner from me.
Who was the one who lived at Pondview, St. Juan then?
Harold Taylor.
Harold Taylor.
No, there was a property there that had a Morgan three-wheeler in it, which raced on the beach, and that was at Pondview, St. Juan. I thought that was LeBrun. No?
Well, you must remember that Frank LeBrun's dad owned St. Juan's Pond.
You know,
Oh, did he?
Frank LeBrun. Frankly, he had.
That's how I ended up in Zimbabwe.
Really?
He had the big sunbeam. That
Well, that was
raced.
Harold, yeah.
And when Harold converted the three-wheeler, he did a swap with Frank LeBrun. And I think what's his name?
Because that used to be parked just outside where the workshop was. It was over there, parked across. I've been to the house really down memory lane, and I spoke to the lady there at the house. You know, because I spent so many hours in the place, because they had no running water and the toilet was a pump. You know, do you remember this?
Harold Taylor. I want to know about Harold Taylor because. How did he become an engineer? Have you know?
During the war, they lived in Poole,
Right, this is
or around
1949.
Poole, and he had a boat
June 1949 beach.
which was very, very fast, and he used to go up and down the river, and the people complained there because he disturbed
That's the Morgan Taylor.
he disturbed
It's called the Morgan Taylor.
Is that what?
That's right. That's it.
Is that what Mark's asking about?
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you about it. Because
Frank LeBrun's sunbeam. Look, there's the sunbeam. Now he did a swap. He did a swap with Harold, and that sunbeam is trying to think.
Huge, big thing, eh?
Huge.
Ah, that's the one that was being.
You know who's got it now? Jenny.
Jenny. That was the one that Jenny had restored, didn't it?
Yeah, he's having
That's
it
the
restored.
one.
It's huge.
What's his name?
no, he bought it for £70,000 or £80,000, and somebody in France bought it for £175,000.
We sold out to this. Because he had it on display in the park.
Yeah.
About 5
I
years ago.
asked you because I put the, you know, we did the road race exhibition,
Yeah.
and
That was right. Old Harold used to race that. He was a cripple.
Yeah, but when he got in the car, when he got in the car, he had to get hold of his leg and lift it up and around.
He had no movement. It was
But he's got irons.
Irons.
Yeah, but he was fabulous,
That was
you know,
a big
as an
car.
engineer. I think him and Monty Tufnell, they were like a team. And I don't know what they were doing during the war, but you can reckon he was a boffin of some sort.
Harold worked on radar during the war, and he said to me there was a pin that they tried to get loads and loads of engineers to make this pin, and they couldn't. It had to be within thousandths of an inch, you know. And Harold did it.
Oh, well, he was brilliant. He was lovely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
How many cars did Harold Taylor own and race? Have you no idea? I mean, the Sunbeam, you say he raced. And he owned
I'm
it.
sure
He
he raced
raced
that.
the Morgan and the Sunbeam, only those two.
Did he?
Only those two.
Never bikes, never motorbikes.
Oh no,
Never.
no, he
No,
couldn't.
couldn't he?
Always, couldn't.
He was always
No,
cars.
he couldn't.
His legs were all in irons.
Right.
And he was, his hair was all fluffy, you know.
Yeah.
And he had his pipe, his teeth were all worn down.
Was
His
he?
teeth
Oh,
were
yeah.
black.
You know, he was, he was doing all sorts of experiments on decentrification of brass fittings.
Right.
And
Yeah, there you go. This was the road race exhibition that I put together. It was on the park. And
did you put an? Oh, no, I've got that. That's Bob Sherrod. See, the picture you got there. I was alongside him when they took that picture. Is that Bob Sherrod? No, it didn't look like him.
What race is that? 47 or 48? Which?
Oh, that could have been Reg Parnell, eh? Well, Reg Parnell won.
He won the first one, didn't he? Reg Parnell won the
Reg-
47 race, didn't he?
Well, I couldn't tell you. You know, it's so.
You've got the newspaper cuttings of the crash.
Have you got?
yes, I've got it. I've got the inquest.
Now look at that. That's an Alta, I think. Or not?
No,
Looks almost
Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
So is that the last race?
So hang on.
Because
so
you know that with the LGS, Frank wanted to get that kart race, and he bought a brand new Jaguar and took the engine out and put it in the special.
Did he? Who actually designed that LGS special?
Well, I think Frank and Alec Izagamas.
You reckon they designed it
Well,
together?
I'll tell you what, Frank, well, I was on the beach and Frank crawled underneath my car because I'd got a De Dion swing beam axle
Right.
where the differential is actually mounted solid and there are two swing arms. And because I've got so much light, I'd like to look at it. The swing arms were on coil springs, and I got salters to alter the springs to shorten them. So because when I went up Blue Bay, I got my wheels were splayed, if you like.
Right.
They were splayed out. Because I hadn't got enough weight on me, and in fact my wheels all the way up.
Yeah. You had ordinary prop shaft driving yours.
Huh?
You had a prop shaft drive. You had a diff. You had all that in yours.
Sorry.
You had a differential and a prop shaft. You had all the conventional drive
Well,
gear.
it was a conventional drive gear, but the differential
Yeah.
was the
Yeah, I know.
fixed in the chassis.
Right.
And the tubular chassis was
well,
about was an oval tube. The
But my
oval
son's in
tube
small
would
cars.
be 200 by
My son's into
200 by
vintage cars.
right.
80
His
mil.
oldest car's 100 years
Say
old.
I think it would be it may be 6 by 3 oval tube,
Right.
and it was in a square came in like that. X shape with claps, tubes going through it, welded up very robust. In fact, it was an old car, really.
Is it?
I paid, I think, 25 quid for it.
Picture. Well, there'll be a picture in one
You
of
know
the,
where there's an office building
I haven't got all
along commercial buildings?
Right.
There's an office firm there. There was an auction sale there, and I bought it, I think, for 25 pounds.
Did you?
It was a
He
German
had two.
helmet
See, he had one with the
Really?
Yeah.
cast iron wheels.
But, and that's the
and one with
picture
wooden
of this.
wheels. Now, when he raced, what
yeah.
Christmas got, he put cast iron.
So it was never actually a Mercedes car as such. It was always a
Oh,
straight.
it was a Merc.
It was a Merc.
Oh, definitely. It was a
It had a Merc.
170V.
Did it?
170V.
Yeah.
And I suppose
Basically,
the figures for the
Chinese
CCs, cubic capacity, I didn't do anything much.
I couldn't believe it, really, until he told me so.
I didn't know.
He said, is that true?
I didn't.
Yeah.
What did you do? What happened to that car from you? You swapped it.
Funny you should mention that. I was wondering what I did with the car.
But going back to the advance of Germany, we took out the Focke-Wulf's mansion, and in the garage for the Auto Union racing car.
No.
The one that dominated the world, do you remember?
Yeah.
So it was
Well, the driver of the Auto Union, who was one of the most famous ones, was living at Haverday Park. He got his picture next door. You know Bagnall's? Do you know the house called Bagnall's? It's the one from the pool. There's Gardens, and then you come to Bagnall's, then Silvertide.
That's right, yeah, I know, yes, yes.
You know the one that's
Yeah,
Florida,
yeah, the big one,
my
yeah,
old
yeah,
mate.
sorry.
Now, this chap
I
was.
remember that one well.
He was the racing driver because he got his picture in the back of his car.
Going back to that car,
1942-43.
He was living here then.
Well, he was in the army.
He was in the army, and he was an auto union driver.
He was the auto union driver.
Did you get to drive it, Bill? One you found? Did you get to drive the one you?
well, we used to carry aviation spirit, and there was no fuel in the car, so I got the boys to push it out. We filled it up with aviation spirit, and I got in and I said, "Come on, push," you know. And they pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, but she wouldn't start.
She wouldn't fire.
So we just pushed it back in the garage and left it there.
But
And I think about 12 years ago, one was sold for $6 million, and I could have got that car back to Belgium.
Yeah, but that car, the auto union, the engine was in the stern, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
And he was sitting up front. And if you got Power and Speed, the book Power and Speed, you'll find the photographs in the book of that particular individual that was in Jersey.
Because your little Taylor Special wasn't quite an auto union, but for some reason you had the engine mounted on the side. Why was that? Who decided to put the engine there?
Oxton,
Did he?
Major Oxton.
What was the idea? Why? Because it seemed to create a balance problem, but did it? No?
I really got no idea, but it was a very short wheelbase,
Right.
very light,
Almost square, eh?
almost square, and when you put your foot down, the back always tried to overtake the front.
Right.
It was a job to keep it straight.
Yeah. What was the final drive on that? How was it? Was it a chain? Wasn't a chain? Was it? It was a belt, wasn't it? Chain. It was a chain.
In actual fact, I was 6 laps ahead in a 50-mile sand race, and I only got a couple of laps to finish, and the chain jumped, and it wedged itself solid between the sprocket and the gearbox.
You were lucky it didn't flip out. There was a.
Well, I broke one on Bully Bay, and it dropped on the floor instead of coming up.
Yeah, you were lucky. Because if the chain flips up, it can do a lot of damage.
I don't suppose either of you gentlemen got any idea what happened to Major Oxenden's bike once they took the engine out. At the OEC, the engine came out, it was a Jap, which went in, that was the engine.
The Jap engine.
They threw the bike away, did they?
I think so, I really don't know. But the engine, the first engine, I changed it. Because Harold, when he bought the Morgan, I think my engine went into the Morgan. I bought because it was a dry sumper, big club.
Yeah.
We raised the compression ratio up to 13.5 to 1. Because it went very high.
Yeah.
And it was a dry sumper, which was much better than the splash feed. And Harold put my engine into the Morgan.
Well, I tell you another, Bud, my sister's boyfriend, he had a Morgan 3-wheeler, but that one was water-cooled, if I remember rightly.
That was in Jersey, was it?
Yeah, Jersey. It was in Jersey.
Yeah, Micah.
Oh yeah, well, because we had the old, we had a very mysterious car that apparently we couldn't quite it was a Brooklands Racing chassis one, 1927, 28, Beetleback Morgan with a Jap V-twin on the front, water-cooled engine, supposed to be. But it was the one book which was missing at the Morgan factory was that year. We couldn't find which one it was. But Fry, I think, who used to have the electrician.
Fry Kaiser. Oh,
Fry. No. Strange enough you should say that. I know somebody who's rebuilding the Fry Kaiser wagon at the moment, but the Fry over here, Auto Electrics or something they used to call them.
I remember him.
There was Mr. Goldsmith. There was a car that came here in 1937 for the 50-mile race and never went away again. That was a Morgan 3-wheeler. That had come here and they bought it. Somebody bought it here. I don't know if it was I think it was Goldsmith who bought it, and he kept it and used that one. And I think that might have been the car that finished up in Pondview at St. Juan's, and only the radiator survived of that one as far as we know.
There was a radiator on that particular car.
That's right, and it had quite a tall spout on it with a little bit of bent tubing coming out for it when it went round the bends, I think, or for when it boiled or whatever happened, I don't know. But the compression ratio on that car was very high.
Just a matter of interest, on Wiley's car, to move the fuel from the tank to the carburetor, they got a hand pump, and they used to pump the fuel up.
I had the same on the Taylor Special.
Did you?
Pressurised tank.
Pump. Yeah.
And I used to have to watch the gauge. And
Because it would
even if I was doing 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, I keep looking at that gauge to make sure there was enough area to get the fuel through.
Yeah.
Just to put the picture there, because this is just after the war, you guys are starting to build racing cars.
Yeah.
Where did you get bits and pieces, fuel? Because it couldn't have been much of it about tyres. Must have been difficult to get.
There was a lot of old engines around.
Was
There
there?
was a lot of old cars around.
Was there?
And they were
From
broken up.
Springfield.
They were broken up.
So you
Race them on the beach, seize them up and throw them away.
did you?
But there was a lot of cars that were sort of like buried, weren't they? I think they buried, like, when the Germans were coming, people buried their cars and
Yeah.
you know, dug a pit, buried the car, covered it over, and then
They
dug a-
bought most of the cars, you know. They bought hundreds of cars, and they were at Springfield there. And all the garages in Jersey were requisitioned under what was called HKP, Heer's Crawford Park, and Jersey was Volkswagen. I know all these things because, you know, like we're talking now, Mum and Dad would talk about, and in bed they would talk about things, you know, that had happened during the day. And there was a Feldwebel there, that's like a sergeant major, Kessler. Kessler was a very nice chap as an individual, and he pictures had got Leyland engined vehicles at that time, and they were one of their buses was in Springfield. Ted Baxter, do you remember Ted Baxter? He used to be the,
Yes, Ted Baxter, he was driving Muscat.
well, he could have done because he was with
Down at Georgetown.
but he was Pitcher's number one
Yeah,
man
yeah,
at
yeah.
one time, and then he ended up at the iron stores in the parade
I can't remember
when
that.
just before he retired. But he and the Pitcher boys, George and all those, they convinced the German that they needed the engine out of that bus. So they took he says, yes, as long as you give me another engine back and it works, it's okay. So they changed the engine over, it worked all right because it was a better engine. It was both were their vehicles. That brought back, excuse the expression, but he ended up on the what we call the Ostfront. He ended up in Russia because of that good deed he did. And but everybody, you know, respected this individual